Five, four, three, two, one. We have ignition. Strap in. You're about to listen to the hottest sounds.
Dream Catcher Radio.
Sometimes when you're in a dark place, you think you've been buried, but actually, you've been planted.
Well, I won't back down. No, I won't back down. You could stare me up at the gates of hell, but I won't back down. No, I'll stand my ground. Won't be turned around, and I'll keep this world from dragging me down. Gonna stand my ground.
We are now at episode 24 in the Ralph Christie's Injustice case. 24 episodes, that means 24 times 2, 48 hours of us talking. Now, one thing that's really interesting is some people will say, how can it take so much to explain a case? The reason being is that we're not a TV production company. We're going from stage by stage by stage by stage by stage. So basically, for example, when you do a series, a Netflix series, people's attention span is very limited. So what the TV series company will do will basically condense everything down into a short segment. Like, I love watching 24 Hours in Police Custody. It's amazing. But there's so many facets in there, in between all that. So we give you the meat, gravy, and veg, and the pudding. And that's why it takes so long. And I'm hoping it will be used for evidential purposes future down the line. So good afternoon, Ralph.
Hi, brothers. Yeah, how are you doing?
Yeah. No, I'm good. I've survived my trip to Crete. Thank you very much for that. I know it's short and sweet, but I think that's all I needed.
And you seem very busy back there. You're doing a lot of TikToks, aren't you? And you seem to be very busy on another great article you narrated last night again for Injustice. And I think with what's going on in your country, I mean, obviously with the Prime Minister controlling the House of Commons yesterday when he shouldn't even be in office because of his criminal activity. I mean, we talk about Keir Starmer, and we're going to talk a bit about Chris Rowley today, who's another Chief Constable of Lancashire. That I honestly believe he retired in November 2013, based on what we're going to discuss today. And I think that Keir Starmer alone should retire, or he should be arrested because of the protection of Stephen Thomas, the likes of Jimmy Savile, and the rest of it when he was head of the prosecution service. And of course, the lies he sent across to the Greek prosecutors about me that caused the trial here in 2013, which was...
just for the sake of it, considering you just mentioned it, just to remind listeners how Keir Starmer was involved in your case.
Well, originally it started with we know exactly how it all started about the Thomas brothers covering this money now, which is, again, it's down to, it's like you say, we've had to go through all these episodes to get there, but of course it's evidence now, what's happened. As Simon Thomas doesn't get in touch at all. None of the lawyers that I've contacted get in touch. But so it all kind of started with Sue Watton's Simon and Stephen Thomas in May 2009. And of course, Stephen Thomas went to the police, gave a statement, even though they'd known that he was a rapist.
I'll explain it. I'll explain it a bit better, then, I guess. Is that Keir Starmer was involved in making a complaint whilst he was head of the CPS to the Greek authorities following complaint by a money launderer, a self-confessed rapist as well. And Ralph was used as a mule for the money launderer, Stephen Thomas, and his brother, Simon Thomas, to basically get money out of the UK, invest it in Crete, and basically for two reasons, to the best of our knowledge, we can understand to date. One is to avoid inheritance tax, and number two is, in regards to Stephen Thomas, is to not give his wife any financial dividends in their separation. Is that about right?
Perfect, brothers. Yep, sorry I got on to a bit of a waffle.
Yeah. Okay. Now, so let's start off today's episode. The
Also, the usual letter, yeah, that I sent it out to Simon Thomas again because
sorry. Okay, so this is your weekly email that you send out following every episode. To, I think it's about 150 different people, isn't it?
Nearly 190 now.
Okay, how many?
192, I think now.
Okay, these are like people in public bodies, police, etc., the CPS or whoever that's willing to listen, I guess.
Over the 24 episodes, brothers, we've sent them directly to Cedric. We sent 3 or 4 to Romana Senior. We sent about 4 or 5 to Simon Thomas now. We sent a couple to Tayyab Ali, who was my defence lawyer at the trial. And nobody's replied to any of them at all, but because basically they're all part of the cover-up and the sting.
Yeah. Okay, so do you want to read out your last email?
Yeah, okay. It's episode 24 Dreamcatchers Radio, this Thursday, 30th the 4th, 2026, 1600 hours, London time. Attention 7, Simon Thomas. And I sent this obviously before Stephen Thomas's birthday, which I found out was the 28th of April because of an email that Cedric sent about Stephen Thomas lying in his police statements that we'll be reading lower down. So it's just occurred to me that Thomas was 70 yesterday. So I just said, so what birthday celebrations is Stephen having at Bradford Golf Club tomorrow, Simon? I tried to speak to Koza Hussain last week. She's probably the main lawyer in Bradford that's protected the Thomas brothers because of her contacts last week, but she wasn't saying it. We had a conflict of interest. All I wanted to ask Koza was why, along with Susan Hoy, has she also protected Stephen from conviction since May 2006, when Stephen admitted the rapes to Judge Wood later that year? Remember his 50th there, Simon, where the menu for Mufti, which was always Simon's nickname for Stephen, was hookers and cocaine. The only way I found that out was in corrupt Cedric's Stephen Thomas criminal timeline, attached December 2011, and John Gregory Stevenson's signed statements to Cedric in July 2013 in North Yorkshire. Remember, John Gregory Stevenson was the person whose recording we read out, Bradis, when PC Richard Ford was interviewing him about Stephen Thomas's rapes in July 2011 as well. Okay, so Jane Thomas reported after being raped again by Stephen Mufti Thomas later that night, 28th of the 4th, 2006, which was his 50th birthday, to DC Sally Blassett, 2328, log number 1947, 20th of the 3rd, 2006. The following day at 10:30, Stephen was arrested in Baildon by DC Ford and DC Cullingworth. What's interesting here, DC Ford in his interview said he'd never even spoken to Stephen Thomas when John Stevenson asked him. So there's another lie, because he was actually the arresting officer. Mr. Stevenson also gave a recorded and signed statement 27th of the 5th, 2006, regards the many rapes and beatings of Jane over the years to DC Peter Craig and DC Richard Ford at Shipley Police Station. So this is all factual about what's gone on. I don't suppose for a moment that Christopher, James, Matthew, Holly or Olivia will be going to Mufti's 70th, will they? Christopher and James are the children of Stevens that have both been battered over the years. Matthew, who was raped at 2.5 years old by Stephen, and Holly and Olivia Simon's daughters.
Mm.
We know Alistair Bateman Racing and a few others from law firms in Bradford will be there, but how many of the high-ranking officers, formerly of West Yorkshire Police officers, under complaint in 2006, listed below, will be there, Simon? Does Chris Rowley go to the same lodge as you, Simon? Because Rowley was the main player with said and Ramona Senior to get me unlawfully convicted in the UK in 2015, with your help, lies and narrative. 6 police crime commissioners have protected Rowley since 2012 from arrest, who are Mark Burns-Williams, Tracy Braddon from West Yorkshire, Andrew Snowden from Lancashire, Matthew Grove from Humberside, and Alan Billings, South Yorkshire, along with Dame Andrea Jenkins, Lincolnshire. So these are police crime commissioners that have known all about this since 2000, since the first became live in November 2012, that have gone along with all this. They're all quite aware of this. We played that recording of Mark Burns-Williams on Radio Lee when Jane Thomas was on the same programme. I think that was in episode 13. Anyway, let's hope it's the last supper for Stephen tomorrow, Simon, and West Yorkshire Police don't let Stephen do a Savile and die before he's convicted. Regards, Ralph. Okay, so you get the gist of what I'm saying and how big the cover-up is. I spoke to Koza Hussein. I spoke to Lynn, who was the receptionist, and she said, no, she won't speak to you because there's a conflict of interest. Well, it's not a conflict of interest. She's actually protected a rapist for decades.
See, this is something I don't understand, Ralph, right? I really don't get it. Is that people, and you mentioned it before we went on air, about I published a talk yesterday on social media about injustice. That they actually genuinely believe that injustice, I say they, but I believe the police really, once injustice happens, they don't really care, right? They just think, well, we'll wait until, we get told that we need to reinvestigate and that sort of stuff. But they don't really care if they've done something wrong and that sort of thing. I mean, a prime example, I think I shared it with you, an episode that's on 24 hour police custody. Don't know if you watched it, in which basically it was an old case, probably about 20 years old. And the police officers made very, very poor judgments at the time in their investigations, where someone was actually murdered, homicide, whatever you want to call it. And when they actually, I was surprised they actually managed to get this done, interviewed the police who were investigating at the time. Thankfully, they're still alive. They actually said, this case has always stuck in my mind, and I actually believe we got it wrong, right? But the point being, the statute says, if you know you've done something wrong, you should go back, basically, to the CPS. But none of them did.
No, and when they say they got it wrong, I think they deliberately get it wrong because they want convictions. What's quite amazing is this week, I think, that 1 or 2 or 3 people at Cheshire Hospital have been arrested now for giving false evidence or whatever it is at the trial of Lucy Leckby, which of course we know she's totally innocent. Now, this is just smoke and mirrors by the police, because the police have gone to speak to these 3 just to think that, well, okay, we have done nothing wrong in this case, when they're solely to blame for the miscarriage of justice, the Cheshire Police hierarchy and whoever is investigating that case, because they will have known that the 3 people they've spoken to earlier this week lied under oath because they probably prompted them to lie under oath. Look at all the people that we've exposed lying under oath at my trial. Now, are the police going to go and arrest them? And I'm sure the likes of Mario Churchione, Paul Walker, Pat Brownette, Andrew Thompson, Sue Watt, Simon Thomas, and a few more, and Nikos Sadakis, the lawyer, all lied under oath on instructions by the police. Now, the police, what they're going to do, the police go and arrest all those and say, well, they've caused miscarriage of justice. They actually flew Alan Thompson in from Greece and paid for his flights to deliberately lie. So this is the problem, brothers. They haven't got it wrong. They've created the show.
Yeah, if you remember, I did a talk on setting the narrative, and this is basically a case of setting the narrative. Albeit, what I will say, this case is more interesting, other than setting the narrative, where Stephen and Simon Thomas actually have some sort of control over the police or influence over the police, which is quite unusual. So many people.
It's to do with strippers. It's to do with cocaine. It's all out there in the open. There's just nobody that seems to have any balls to actually do anything about it, and they may not. I mean, look at Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of the country. Absolute disgrace. When you go back to the many miscarriages of justice that happened when he was in charge of the CPS. Look at the Andrew Mackinson guy, did jail for 17 years for
false allegation of rape.
Yeah, no. As far as I was told that D.I. Taylor was suspended or was moved from Greater Manchester Police then on a disciplinary reason and went to West Yorkshire Police. I told Tayyab Ali and Grattage and Tirani to find out, get his disciplinary records before my trial, and they said no, he's got a clean bill of health and all the rest of it. Well, Cedric had already told me that he was under investigation. That's why he went to West Yorkshire Police. So anyway, reading on a bit down there, Braddis, I won't mention anything about the sneaky kiss I saw there.
Yeah, Mrs. Knight is saying goodbye.
Okay. Okay, so there's a whistleblower.
Were you jealous, were you?
No. I'm in a loving relationship myself, so bring it on.
All right.
So after that, I've just written something else that I've got from a whistleblower that helps me now and again, and they've just said here, hi Ralph, the crime reference number 13090433609 used by Inspector Andy Thornton on the 12th of April 2020 to Jane Thomas is the same crime reference when Stephen Thomas went to West Yorkshire Police in July 2009 against you. The log number 1535 on 23 of the 3rd 2020 was used in the same heading and was classified as official by South Yorkshire's Police and Crime Commissioner Mr. Alan Billings. Jane's PSD complaint number since 2010 CO/952/113 police corruption is still in use. So here, brothers, Jane Thomas has been involving South Yorkshire Crime Commissioner Alan Billings, and he's actually come back using the same reference number which was started when Stephen Thomas and Simon Thomas went to the police in June 2009. So there's a connection 11 years on with Jane Thomas's complaints. The CO number that I just read out was the same one that you read out last week, where we exposed that bottomly doing the investigations into Rowley and Ramona Senior, Lawrenson and D.I. Taylor and Skidmore, that was just completely mishandled. So
the thing is as well, and this is what annoys me as well, when you make a complaint to the police, yeah, and it is correct to say they do look after their own to the best of their ability, but this is to an extraordinary level, and also this is a hot potato. It really is that everybody's kind of touched it, but no one's saying. If you go back to your last episode, which is very, very good, it talks about all the people that have been involved, but there's so many misleading statements in it, and if you sat them all in the room and get them talking, right, which will never happen for a month for Sundays, right, we can get to an overall decision to say, all right, who's right, who's wrong, or whatever. I mean, they're
all in bed together, aren't they? Well, even Cedric, my own brother, you see, he's gone against me because of being blackmailed by Rowley, which we touch on later. I mean, this is interesting here. Just Simon Bottomley told the vetting officer of South Yorkshire Police and Phil Crick, who I don't know who he is, that there was no complaint made in 2016 by Jane Thomas against Rowley, Lawrenson's Senior, Taylor, or Skidmore. Which is, we've just spent a programme and a half in the last couple of weeks, Bradders, talking about that very complaint.
Yeah. And that's the thing about it. And this is what I mentioned earlier about unpacking it, is basically we can go through it and do the diagnostics on it. But the thing is, we clearly know now that this is a massive, I mean, it's not a conspiracy theory, it's a conspiracy. And going back to Jane, she's the best evidence possible to get this open, this case. It really is.
They've just taken a man out of doing business for people where people were making money before this in 2009. Now people are an awful lot of money down and what have you. And it's absolutely nothing to do with my inability or my ability to make money. It's to do with this. Just the last reading of this statement, while Rowley was at South Yorkshire Police, the evidence against Bettison regarding Hillsborough's disaster went missing. So Rowley actually went as the Assistant Chief Constable to South Yorkshire, probably because he'd been working closely with Bettison for a long time at West Yorkshire Police. So it's solely to go there to get rid of all the evidence for the investigation that was starting into the Hillsborough disaster. You've got to also remember we touched on Ingrid Lee going to South Yorkshire Police in June 2014 just to get Cliff Richards arrested. So Cliff Richards didn't give evidence at the investigation into Jimmy Savile. So, you know, I mean, mine's very minor when you think about the cover-ups of the likes of Jimmy Savile and Bettison's involvement in the Hillsborough disaster.
You're making my radio station sound like Alex Jones now. But the point being is that when you connect the dots, and things are not too far away from each other, is it really? But like I say, going back to like your case, is understanding. I believe we've inadvertently come across with Jane Thomas, where we know there's low-hanging fruit there that will hopefully open up your case as well, and also Jane's case is what
you've got to bear in mind that Jane Thomas was deliberately not allowed to be a defence witness at my trial. You know, Imana Senior, Bottomley, Rowley, Andrew West was having nothing of anything she said. They said they'd deal with it after I was after my trial or unlawfully convicted.
Yeah, but that was a lie. That was obviously a lie.
Yeah. No no Stephen Thomas, no Cedric, no Jane Thomas, and this is why now in 2026 we're having to do, which is great fun by the way. We're having to go through it all, but this should have all come out of a trial. But bear in mind, there shouldn't have been a trial in the first place because Keir Starmer arranged the trial in Greece 15 months earlier that I was acquitted at.
Yeah, I wouldn't personally say it's fun. I find it really tragic and sad, to be honest.
Well, yeah, but what you have to make the most out of a situation, don't you? So this is an email from Jane Thomas to Christopher Rowley on October the 14th. In fact, what I'll do, Bradders, is I'll read it up because there's the first email to.
I'm following you. Don't worry, I'm following you.
The first email is from Jane Thomas on the 14th of October 2011. Now, bear in mind that in the complaint that we read out last week, Chris Rowley said he had nothing to do with my case at all, and you know, so that was a lie. So
it's shocking, really.
Subject: complaint against Nick Wallen. Nick Wallen was involved in the in Cedric's timeline. He was mentioned, wasn't he? Because he was a point of contact for all the 4 rapes that went on in Lancashire, North Yorkshire, Cheshire, and West Yorkshire.
Okay. So basically, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 police officers copied in on this as well.
Yeah, I'll get to that in a minute. But okay, so C.I. Rowley, I received your letter dated the 11th of October 2011. You say that you have asked the IPCC to dispensate my complaint. Please, could you forward me the papers you have submitted to the IPCC? I will then, of course, make my representations to why I believe my complaint should be investigated. Until and outcome of either dispensation or an investigation, the fact still remains that there is a public complaint recorded against Nick Wallen. For him to have gone to the meeting and to continue to deal with my complaints against Mark Gaunt, DC Richard Ford, and Paul Kerry is unprofessional and wholly unreasonable. Please can you ensure that he does not deal with my complaints, at least until an outcome of the dispensation or investigation, and confirm in writing that is the case. Regards, Jane Thomas. So Rowley replies to this, okay, just copy to Jane Thomas. This is the 14th of October, so 3 days later. Miss Thomas, thank you for your email. Regarding your request for copies of paperwork submitted to the IPCC, could I ask that you submit a Freedom of Information request to West Yorkshire Police, who will consider if the documents can be released to you? I mean, a freedom of information about what? Rape. Anyway, so he sent the link then for the Freedom of Information, requesting it. I have informed that DS Lee Anfield, in brackets Lancashire Police, has been in contact with you and will be your single point of contact regarding the initial rape investigations there. I will await the decision of the IPCC before I conduct any inquiries into your complaint against D.I. Wallen. When that decision is taken, my department will call you. Kind regards, DCI Rowley, Detective Police Inspector Rowley, Professional Standards, Wakefield, blah, blah, blah. So he's acknowledged that there's a rape going on in Lancashire because DS Lee Anfield is investigating that. And he's telling her to get a freedom of information. Why hasn't he just gone and arrested Stephen Thomas?
It's outrageous, absolutely outrageous. And one thing I will go back to the last episode, which is really important. The where basically, I mean, you can't make this up. Really, it's like plain as day, right? That they're trying to cover each other's asses. Literally is in plain sight. And all it is in the letter that got emailed or posted to Jane, right, is basically what I would best describe as word salad.
Yeah. Verbal diarrhea.
Yes. And the fact is, as well, where they say, I'm going to wait for this, or I've spoke to them about this, and I spoke to them about that, they leave it basically without a full stop. They never answer the grievance.
Yeah, I think Rowley is a member of the same lodge as Simon Thomas, and Simon Thomas is high up. And just
I don't
coming back to the earlier point
know how he's managed to get away with this. I'll be honest, but he must have some enormous powers that I've never seen. I've never seen anything like this before.
He's got his money. He's got his dirty money to give it, to splash the cash. I mean, I'm pretty sure Declan has had some of that. Cedric has had some of that. Rowley's probably had some of that. Bateman has certainly had some of that. His wife, Susan Hoyer, the CPS lawyer, has had some of that. So it goes on and on. So anyway, so Jane Thomas then goes back to Rowley, and this is where she's copied in Lee Anfield, Lancashire Police, that Rowley's mentioned. Bill Burns, North Yorkshire Police, who was dealing with the rapes in North Yorkshire.
To let you know, you've got 5 minutes.
Yep. Chris Hemingway, who was dealing with the rapes in Cheshire. So she's copied all these people in, and she says, DCI Rowley, your suggestion that I need to submit an FIA request regarding the complaint against Nick Wallen is ludicrous in capitals and a waste of time and public money. But it only further supports my belief that West Yorkshire Police covers up continues. This matter has been described to me as massive in capitals by Kate Dawes, PSD, Professional Standards Department. And it seems to me that with a response like yours, it's likely to grow. So true. Once this matter has been registered with the IPCC on Monday, I will request the information from them. I will, of course,
pause there 1 second, right? She's very right. Basically, they're based, if you're a victim of rape, right, I'm guessing you possibly would give up in the end because you're getting nowhere. And bear in mind the house has been raided as well, by the very same police force. But it's just all this cover up upon cover up upon cover up is exposing them. But the problem is she's not been able to get access to justice so
No.
far. I believe it's coming personally, and I actually do believe because this is so low hanging fruit
Yeah.
in terms of basically because he's confessed,
Yeah.
you know, and also he sent you 3.5 million quid and he denied it in court.
Yeah.
I mean,
Anyway, let's get through this before the break, Alice.
yeah,
So,
yeah, okay, thank you, Mr. Producer. Yeah.
uh, I will, of course, inform them of the emails and correspondence we have had and the fact that you are allowing Nick Wallen to continue dealing with my complaint against Mark Gaunt, DC Richard Ford, and Paul Kerry, although there is a formal public complaint is recorded against himself. So that's from Jane Thomas. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think I've got a feeling it's we've got this is the straw that's going to break the camel's back. You know, or I'm trying to grab the bull by the horns, if you like, and obviously the bull is West Yorkshire Police, and I'm a nobody.
I've never ever experienced something like this in my life. It absolutely shocks me, to be honest.
Part 2 and part 3 get better, Gladys.
I've got family in the police force, and and I've mentioned it to them, and do you know what their response to me was? We don't talk about stuff like this.
Well, Paul Walker's got family in the police force. Simon Bottomley's father was a top policeman in the 1980s when the Ripper fiasco was going on, and I think his daughter's a PC now in West Yorkshire Police. I'll tell you one thing about Rowley that I didn't know was that he couldn't get his boys into Leeds Grammar School for some reason. I don't know what it was, and Bettison, when he was a chief constable, actually arranged it for the boys to go into Leeds Grammar School. So.
Actually, I do remember one of the comment that was made to me was, "I can believe you." That's what they said. That's one of them said that. I can believe you.
Well, it's a police
when things go wrong, the cover up upon the cover up upon the cover up upon the cover up, which makes perfect sense. If you look at it in domestic lifestyle where you tell a white lie, perhaps you've done something wrong.
Yeah.
That you ought not to do. You tell a lie, don't you? Or a white lie, or whatever you want to call it. But then when the person comes back to you, you expand on that white lie, don't you? To make it sound more.
Well, Jimmy Savile was 84 years old when he died. They knew he was a criminal since he was 40 years old in West Yorkshire.
Yeah, it's a prime example. Yeah.
And Stephen Thomas should be locked up today, should be remanded and sentenced. End of. Nothing, and Simon, and that, and including Alison Thomas as well, the wife of Simon.
Johnny Rotten exposed Jimmy Savile, didn't he? And he got ignored.
Was that's why he was arrested by Ingrid Lee, sent the South Yorkshire police helicopter down to arrest him. She tipped off the BBC before it went, arrested him at his place in wherever it is, Buckinghamshire. And then because he was under investigation, he wasn't allowed to give evidence at the Savile inquiry, which was happening next month. That's a massive cover up. And of course, he was acquitted. South Yorkshire Police ended up giving 1.5 million.
Do you know what makes it even worse for me, Ralph? Yeah, I'm going to go to a break very shortly. Is these inquiries mean absolutely nothing? It's a complete. I mean, I remember I was watching with massive interest the public inquiry regarding the News of the World,
yeah,
and I remember what was his name, Justice, it escapes me anyway. But anyway, the long and short of it was they made recommendations cost hundreds of millions of pounds. The Justice J, that's it, just come to my head. And do you know what he said during cross-examination of Hugh Grant? He looked back at all the people in the room. There's a lot of people in there, like people that are being paid by the public purse. and he said, "This is so much fun, isn't it?"
Yeah.
But he's a judge, right? And he is a good judge, in all fairness. He is, but it's not fun. It's not
No.
fun. It shouldn't be fun. But the fact is, there's no consequences to it. There's nothing, you know.
It's a pantomime. My trial was a pantomime.
You look at the grooming. We've got to go. I know we're
Yeah.
going completely off topic. You look at the grooming gang here. You know, even to get to the brief, it's almost impossible because they want to fucking. Oh, excuse. No,
If you do an investigation into the grooming gang, you've got to do an investigation into all the white people's crimes as well. They're both as bad as each other.
I've got no issue with that whatsoever. Anyway, we need to go to a break.
Okay, I've gone for the song by the Waterboys, "The Whole of the Moon."
Okay, we're going to play that now. Okay, just watch whatever's going to come next. I haven't a clue yet.
I pictured a rainbow. You held it in your hand.
Okay, we are back. What a lovely song that was. And it's really interesting how you take the time out, I imagine, to connect the dots with the songs, Ralph. Because they all seem very relevant all the time.
Yeah, I think it's more luck than management. Uh,
I was
uh,
trying to give you some kudos then, and you just kicked me down.
well, it's down to my great musical skills, and of course, not that I've got any.
Right. Okay. Let's go to the next bit of correspondence. We're going slightly backwards, I think.
Well,
But
I've done it in order, Bradders, because that obviously that between Rowley and Jane Thomas was October 2011, and now we're moving back to my dear youngest brother Cedric, who was quite happy to send me to prison knowing I wasn't a criminal, and an email that he sent to Tayeb Ali, Stephen Grattage, and Noshim on the 23rd of March 2013, just after they'd been over on their paid for legal aid trip to do investigations into what was happening at the Greek trial and exposing Nikos Nichosotakis as a corrupt lawyer, which we
okay.
did read.
So,
Previous.
so just for the sake of the audience, you've mentioned three names there: Cedric,
Yeah.
Tayeb, and Noshim. Can you remind them who they are?
Yeah, Tayab was senior partner at ITN Solicitors. He's at Binman's in London now. No contact with him whatsoever. Obviously, I spoke to him 2 years ago where he kind of said nothing was down to him, but I think it's absolutely impossible for there to have been a trial like this without my lead solicitor knowing about it. And he certainly knew that Stephen Thomas was a rapist, and he certainly knew that.
Repeat that. Your lead solicitor said he knew nothing about what?
He said my lead solicitor said that he worked tirelessly for me. Nobody did a better job than he did. This was in November 2023, I think it was, when I spoke to him last on the phone. But of course, everybody's involved, aren't they? You can't have done something like with this because remember, Miriam Shivam was going to be the lawyer, but she kind of left the night before the trial because of Cedric's involvement behind the scenes. So she's probably the only honest lawyer that's just said, well, I'm not going to go through with this because she's just come back from Crete exposing all the criminality of Stephen Thomas over here with his money laundering.
Okay.
Yeah, so they've just been on a trip. They've been. I think they came on the 18th of March, and email is dated from Cedric on the 23rd of March 2013. Whilst I'm held on remand before the Greek trial over here, based on the Keir Starmer lies in 2011.
Something else I want to say, right? And this is how I find egregious about the justice system is we've got recording, right? We've got multiple actually, in fact, which we cannot air because of the laws in various countries. Crete and we could air it in the UK. Well, no, we can't without facing prosecution ourselves. But it openly admits what was going on.
Yeah,
We can't air it.
well, it's an illegal recording that Cedric did as well of Nikos Nichosotakis, so he could be prosecuted for that. But Cedric certainly played it to many, many people, including Dr. Femi Sophos, my defence lawyer here.
But I don't really fancy going to prison, Ralph, to be honest.
But
that's what I could face by airing it.
Cedric loved me going to prison, though, didn't he? He's just an envious.
Well, clearly.
I hope our paths never cross again, really, or he goes to prison. I might go and visit him in there, but he's just completely ruined my family life. We spoke about the mental rape of my ex-wife Jane in July 2013. He caused problems for Catherine Evans beginning of this year in January, saying that she was a money launderer, and Cedric said he was going to send an email out, didn't he, in January, exposing my corruption with West Yorkshire Police. And then he accused Jeff Brown of being a criminal. And all
he accused Jeff Brown as well.
Yeah, he did. There was some emails at the beginning of January exposing it. Yeah, I mean, he's just deluded. Completely. Well, I just think he was always being envious of me. That's the problem. And envy is it's a terrible.
Yeah,
terrible.
but notwithstanding that, though, Ralph, in all honesty, right, to convict criminals, which perhaps they were scumbags or whatever, right? These are people that he fitted up in
Yeah,
order to convict them, right? That's wrong. That's
yeah,
wrong. I know sometimes, right? I imagine as a police officer that you know they did it, but you couldn't prove it. But to plant evidence,
mm,
to place them in those situations in order to get a conviction is so
yeah,
wrong.
yeah. And then, well, look what he's done to me. Yeah, the complete bastard, isn't he?
Oh, no, okay, on that point, yeah, while I was talking about him, um, you've got clear evidence where he's done a massive U-turn all
Yeah,
of a sudden. What
yeah.
happened? Did he have
Well, it
an
was black.
epiphany or something?
Well, let's get on. Let's get on with what we're reading because it comes out later on that more evidence of him being blackmailed by Chris Rowley. So yeah,
Okay.
let's read this
As,
email.
as I said, you're the producer today, by the looks of it. So carry on.
Well, I want to try and get through everything without, because I want to play that recording as well in part 3. So
Oh, okay.
I hope you don't mind.
I don't know what recording you're on about, to be honest, but
I hope you don't mind me being the producer. I don't want you to
no,
feel
I
the
don't mind. I'm enjoying it. It makes my life easier.
Okay, shut up then.
I just have to listen.
Are you reading this out or me, Badis?
No, you go for it, man.
Okay, so it was sent by Cedric on the 23rd of the 3rd, 2013, whilst I was illegally held on remand here. Dear Tayeb, Stephen and Noshim, thank you for the report on Crete. I have discussed some aspects with Ralph. There's a bit more to this email, but I've just put out some of the key notes that he made. So Cedric states, at the root of this case and the allegations of criminality against all of us are criminals I was investigating, and the criminality in the lives of Stephen Thomas, who is being protected through these processes by corrupt UK lawyers and police, who at the bare minimum are turning a blind eye to serious crime because it does not suit their agenda.
Okay, carry on.
Yeah, I just I just thought we might just pick up on the fact that Cedric's has done his confession and what have you, and he's now going on about UK lawyers and police being corrupt. And
The problem is, right? This is, I mean, I think the best view that I can get of Cedric is he suffers from distortions. The
Yeah.
And because how he can flip like that, and you could say it's monetary game, but I actually kind of am leaning towards you. I'm not convinced, if I'm perfectly honest yet. Where basically they had so much on him, he had to flip.
Well, I think it was a matter of he'd possibly face life imprisonment if he hadn't to. That was what he was. That I think that's quite clear what Rowley kind of said to him in beginning of 2014. Anyway, let's read on. So this is how I picked up on Stephen's 70th birthday, Bradders, because
Right.
I was reading this. It says Stephen Thomas's date of birth is the 24th of the 4th, 56. So for him to have been 53 at the time of taking it, it must have been taken between the 8th of the 4th, 2009 and 27th of the 4th, 2010. However, some aspects have clearly been added as the investigations progressed, i.e. Stephen Thomas was interviewed re perjury by the police on the 17th of the 3rd, 2010, and a decision taken by DCI Rowley and DI Taylor to no further to NFA, which
No further action. Yeah.
no further action. Yeah. So so Cedric's picked up on this in 2013. Now, the first statement I saw of Stephen Thomas.
So what's the date of birth? 7 point. What's that mean? What do you mean by that?
Well, I think on this written signed statement by West Yorkshire Police that I received in 2013 for the first time, he said he was 53. Well, what Cedric is saying that if his date of birth is 28th of the 4th, 56, in 2013 he was 56. So his age was wrong on his signed statement. So
I wonder if then, okay, what you're alluding to then potentially that Stephen Thomas has got multiple profiles.
Well, we know that DC Skidmore wrote his statement for him because he sent 2 or 3 back through Sweeney, his lawyer, Opus Law in Bradford. So the perfect.
Oh, yes, we covered that, didn't we? I remember that. Yeah, where he's asking for his approval.
Yeah, and that was in 2011.
I've amended this and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So he was 55, and that was in 2011. So they've concocted the emails. I mean, Pat Brownette says he's never made a statement, but I was shown a statement that was signed by him.
You know, that's the. So we've got a different date of birth, which could be that he's got a different profile on him. Because, in all honesty, right, even if you get stopped by the police nowadays, they ask for your name and date of birth. You stop the car or whatever it is, right? They start building a profile. I know of a young kid who let loose crickets on a train, yeah, and just for fun. And he recently got arrested as a driving issue, and they basically took his ID and that sort of thing. Right, he never got charged for the offence of releasing crickets on the train. But basically the police officer says, yeah, we know who you are. You release crickets on a train. He never knew anything that was on the database, but they know everything. So I wonder if Stephen Thomas has got multiple profiles.
Well, we've spoken earlier about his arrest on the 21st of May 2006 for the rape of Jane on his birthday, on his 50th birthday. So yeah. Anyway, let me just read on a bit. This proves that West Yorkshire Police take statements over a 3-year period and add to it or take out what doesn't suit their agenda.
Yeah, quite.
So anyway, so Jane Thomas made the complaint to DC Skidmore re perjury and the divorce fraud on the 8th of the 3rd, 2010. DC Skidmore realised that Ralph would actually be a witness and chose to ignore this crime with the support of D.I. Taylor because it did not fit their agenda. So, this is where she's gone to the police for the first time. Bear in mind, I didn't meet Jane Thomas until February 2010.
Did she did she ever have a lawyer or anything like that, or was she always like a litigant person, for example, or just a victim, or throughout the trial?
She just went into the police and said, "Look, I've been." She went in 2006, didn't she? So she's gone back in 2010, and I don't know. I think she took a friend, Chris Jackson, with her, who was a big support. But of course, when Stephen Thomas is interviewed on the
guy that we read out last time.
No, Steve Jackson's just a family friend. That was John Stevenson's, who was another family friend.
That we read out last time, who basically said that he was a witness to all the information in relation to.
Yeah, that was John Gregory Stevenson.
You're better than names than me, Ralph. So yeah, okay, thank you.
So it didn't fit the agenda. So now Cedric states, now here comes the interesting bit. Stephen's divorce lawyer was Richard Manning. He's put in brackets, believed struck off now. He worked at Walker Morris in Leeds for 30 years, but left to work at O'Gara's in 2007. Michael O'Gara was a defence lawyer for John Jessup at my trial, who rightfully got not guilty. And I was going to use O'Gara until Cedric told me that he was corrupt, don't use him. And I went to Richard Butters, who was a family friend of mine for many years. And then
just pause you there. Because it's Yorkshire based, your case. I've just looked up Richard Manning. It's actually quite interesting. I know about a different case actually, where someone has been struck off. There's a Richard Manning here. See, I'd have to be careful.
Well, I spoke to Richard Manning 2 weeks ago, and he works at Ice and Harrison in Leeds now.
Okay, fine. You just answered the question then. All right, perfect. This is the same guy. He's now a consultant.
Yeah. Well,
So
yeah.
I don't know if he's been struck off, but yeah.
Anyway, I spoke to him for about a minute and a half. He says, I don't work for Stephen Thomas anymore. I said, I know, but you knew he was a rapist in 2007, and you knew he committed perjury in 2007, and you knew that he'd raped his brother's son, because we've seen the Facebook pages and all the rest of it, and I want some answers to this. Anyway, he ended up putting the phone down, but I've got a recording of that, so he can't deny it. I've left messages for O'Gara to get back in touch, just to say, well, can't you come clean about what's happened? Because again, Manning's gone to work for O'Gara's, Well, and the guy has then defended John Jessup at the trial. Well, why wasn't Stephen Thomas called at all? Because he was heavily involved with John Jessup and me, but because O'Gara knew that that Stephen Thomas was a rapist as well. And then it just goes on here. When the judge in the divorce proceedings ordered that Stephen had to swear an affidavit re no investments in Crete on the 2nd of January 2007, Manning went white. He knew Stephen was lying. I mean, that sums it all up in 2007. And I don't get roped in until September 2009, based on the evidence of Stephen Thomas, who's a known rapist, and his brother that's embezzling, is hiding tax money.
Okay, I've just checked with the SRA. He is not disbarred from being a solicitor, by the way.
I think he might have been struck off for a short period of time. And Cedric might have got that wrong. I don't know. I mean, Cedric gets a lot of things wrong, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's been a solicitor since 1969. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, Cedric is put in brackets believed struck off now.
Yeah, but he hasn't been as of today's day.
I mean, Cedric as a policeman never got anything right. So,
all right, carry on.
Well, we've kind of finished that. And then just a quick email from Jane Thomas on the 9th of June 2013 that was sent to me when I'm still on remand at this time, waiting to clear my name at the Greek trial. And it just says, Jane Thomas to Ralph Christie, my email address. Ralph, we are both victims of West Yorkshire Police's obsession with protecting the criminal Stephen Thomas, CPS lawyer Susan Hoy, and her husband Alistair Bateman. Always remember, justice will prevail. Jane. Just a simple one-liner thing, and she's summed that up in 2013. She's reported a rape in 2006. Alistair Bateman has got him off being convicted in May 2006 because it's in Cedric's criminality notes. We know the CPS lawyer Susan Hoy did all the work in 2008 to get the CPS not to charge Stephen Thomas with rape. And these are all family friends of the Thomases for many years. And I know Alistair Bateman quite well. I've been to a couple of weddings with him. I've done some 10K runs with him over the year. I've carpeted 3 or 4 of his houses. And didn't think there was a problem. But this is where I've been totally set up and had because of the connections between this and Pefferbridge and Bradford, Opus Law, Racing, the judge that we spoke about, Cozy Hussain, who I tried to speak to on the phone. But nobody will speak to me, will they? And really, one of them just ring me up and say, Ralph, I'm sorry, yes, you've got it right. This is the truth now, it's come out. We'll do something about it, but they can't because they're all in bed together.
Okay, let's move on down.
Yeah, so now we've gone to November the 24th, 2016. Now, this is from the Police and Crime Commissioner for South Yorkshire. I'll just go to the bottom. His name's Alan Billings. Now, this is very interesting what he's written because he's actually says that there is a complaint against Rowley and the rest of the mob that refused to do the investigations of her complaint in 2016 that we read out last week. So this is Thursday, November the 24th, 2016. Dear Miss Thomas, I refer to your appeal to the Independent Police Complaints Commission, the IPCC, against the Police and Crime Commissioner decision not to record your complaint of the 2nd of August 2016 against the Chief Constable of South Yorkshire Police, Stephen Watson, and from West Yorkshire Police, DCI Christopher Rowley, DCI Mick Lawrence, Romana Senior, DI Stephen Taylor, and DC Charles Skidmore. So this is a complaint on the 2nd of August that we read out last week, Brannis.
Yeah, I remember.
So Jane Thomas has now gone to the Police and Crime Commissioner of South Yorkshire, and he's doing something about it by the sounds of it. And he says here, the IPCC has considered your appeal and determined that the PCC should have deemed you to be eligible as a complainant, despite the fact that you're not a resident of South Yorkshire. He should then have made a decision as to whether your complaint should be recorded under the Police Reform Act or not recorded under the one or more of the statutory exceptions to the requirement to record complaints as set out in the Police Complaints and Misconduct Regulation 2010. The IPCC defines a complaint within the statutory guidance to the police service on handling complaints, amended May 2015, as a complaint is an expression of dissatisfaction by a member of the public about the conduct of a person or persons serving with the police. This could, for example, be about the way the person has been treated or the service he or she has received. A complaint does not need to be communicated in writing, nor does it need to say explicitly it is a complaint. It can simply be a statement of dissatisfaction. Your complaint against Chief Constable Stephen Watson is to employ and continue to employ an officer, in brackets Christopher Rowley, in a supervision role that is subject to a very serious public complaint. The action will reduce public confidence in the police and is in breach of the Police Reform Act 2020. In accordance with the statutory guidance, the PCC has now decided to firstly record your complaint against him. Regards, Andrew Billings. So somebody's picked up the baton here, Braddis, in 2016. And this is against the same police officers where we spoke about Mark Burns-Williams, who was the PCC at the time in 2016, refused to do anything regards to the officers that we've named. And also bear in mind, Andrew West was part of the complaint, wasn't he? The chief prosecutor. So can you see how interesting this is now? And of course, Rowley has actually gone to work at South Yorkshire, knowing when the chief constable of South Yorkshire knows that he knows about the rape against Jane Thomas. So really, he shouldn't have been appointed as the assistant chief constable.
But more, yeah, okay, that's one good point. But moreover, why did they abandon the issue of the complaint? That's what I don't understand.
Well, let's keep reading on because of this.
Okay, Ralph, I'm following your instructions. Go on in.
It's protecting Rowley, and Rowley is the biggest culprit in all this case, along with Simon Bottomley, which are the two that got Cedric to go against me in one way or another. Anyway, there's a little bit here. This is a story that has some way to run. This is from Mr. Neil Wilby, who's done a lot of good work for me over the years. Mr. Neil Wilby's own view of Mr. Watson's appointment is very clear. A deputy chief from one of the smallest forces in the country is unlikely to have the skill set, experience and gravitas to take on what is the biggest challenge in policing today. His first step in appointing Chris Rowley as part of the command team suggests that his tenure may be mercifully brief. A formal complaint, the 2nd of August 2016, has now been lodged with PCC Billings by the rape and fraud victim Jane Thomas, in brackets West Yorkshire Police CO/952/13, which is the same complaint that we read out last week, Radis. It's all connected, against CC Watson over the manner in which he has handled her issues over ACC Rowley whilst head of the Protected Services, West Yorkshire Police from 2009. Receipt of the complaint has been acknowledged and a recording decision is awaited. So can you see the problem here now? Because they didn't do anything about her complaint that we read out last week. Now the South Yorkshire Crime Commission has taken up the baton. So,
but the bit that I don't get though is, whilst they've taken up the baton, because that often quite happens, other police forces investigate other police forces, they refer themselves. But how did the other police force come to the conclusion to no further action? I don't get it.
Well, okay. I mean, we've got now on the February the 5th, 2017, we've got an email from Jane Thomas to Dee Collins, who was the Chief Constable of West Yorkshire Police at that time. She's copied in the MP, Philip Davies, who was her Conservative MP for Shipley at the time, and the West Yorkshire WYPCC, and some Jonas at Parliament, Sonia Joe at Parliament, don't know who she is, and inquiries at IPCC. And the subject is CO/952/13 corruption, which is again the complaint that Billings was meant to be dealing with. So it says, D. Collins, Chief Constable, West Yorkshire Police. As you are responsible for West Yorkshire Police, I hold you responsible for the continued protection of a rapist stroke fraudster and the corruption within your force, in brackets PSD, that so far has protected the criminal actions of senior police officers. Just to remind you, because if the officers perverting the course of justice, I am at a financial loss of over 600k. My complaint now includes log number 1176 of 31st of January 2017, Mira Morris, PSD, and log 411, 3rd of the 2nd, 17, Simon Bottomley, PSD, along with, again, the now temporary Assistant Chief Constable of South Yorkshire Police, Chris Rowley, and Chief Inspector Peter Craig, for not giving you the emails that was personally addressed to you, sent by Mr. Lawrence and me, evidencing their crimes against me for years. I hope you refer this matter to the IPCC. Jane Thomas. So in answer to your question, we've dealt with this complaint for many hours on this programme from Jane Thomas on the 2nd of August. She's managed to then get the PCC guy involved in November 2016, and now we've suddenly got it crushed by D. Collins, who's the Chief Constable of West Yorkshire Police, so no further action. Now, I didn't realise about all this, Bradders, of course, because I'm in prison at the time whilst this is going on.
Yeah, unfortunately, disclosure comes at a late date sometimes, doesn't it?
Yeah. So, of course, when I got hold of all this information over the years coming out of prison, with help from Neil Wilby and various other peoples, of course, I then go back and raise a complaint with the Crime Commissioner of Lancashire Police, where Chris Rowling now is the Chief Constable. So even though he shouldn't have been the Assistant Chief Constable of South Yorkshire Police because of this ongoing thing, he's suddenly been elevated to a Chief Constable of Lancashire, which of course was the one where the bully lady was apparently drowned in a foot of water.
Yeah.
So
that's a very strange case, that.
Yeah. So of course I contact Andrew Snowden, who's a PCC guy, and put in a complaint, and I get a response back. So shall I read this out?
Yeah, go ahead. We've got 8 minutes before the next break.
Okay. So I, Ralph Christie, raised the crimes of the now Chief Constable of Lancashire Police, Chris Rowley, on the 1st of the 8th, 2023, with the PCC of Lancashire, Andrew Snowden, who responded on the 7th of the 8th, 2023. And so the essence of your complaint, Mr. Christie, appears to be that Chief Constable Rowley, in a previous role of Detective Chief Superintendent, Head of Protective Service Crime, protected Stephen Thomas for many years. So that's my first complaint. Which we've evidenced that in the programme, haven't we? And you know, if it had been at the trial in Bradford, it would have got put down then. So there's no doubt about it. That is a fact. And then I put, in November 2017, in the previous role as the Assistant Chief Constable at Humberside Police, recommended Lockwood to become head of the IPCC, now the IOPC, out of nowhere, even though Humberside Police earlier, with Penhale, who is now the chief of the Serious Fraud Office in London, didn't charge Lockwood, as they should have done in 2012 for raping a minor. Now, Michael Lockwood, that was his name, was arrested in 2021, I think November, when he was head of the IOPC for the whole of Great Britain. And he's been charged with raping a minor, and I think he's pleaded guilty. But this is something that's probably been swept under the carpet. Nobody's heard anything about this case, or whether he's done a deal behind the scenes, a bit like the chap at the BBC, that Hugh Edwards. You know, they've done a deal and they just get washed away. But he actually admitted raping a minor. This guy was the head of the IOPC for the whole of the police force for England. You can Google him and see it. So anyway, so that was part 2 of my complaint. And then in 2014, Chief Constable Rowley, then a DCI at West Yorkshire Police, blackmailed Cedric Christie, my brother, to set me up unless Cedric would have been jailed instead of you for corruption, tipping off and breaking the Official Secrets Act of 2009 many times. Yeah. So they took this serious in August 2023, and there correspondence going backwards and forwards with Snowden or with his members of staff and what have you, and even the assistant chief constable. I can't remember who that is. It might be the chief constable now. It was a lady, asking him to do something about Rowley. Now, in part 3, we will play this recording of how Rowley stopped being the chief constable soon after the answer that I was given on the 9th of October 2023, because rather than face prosecution himself because of all this, he's just done a deal with his mates again and said, I'll take early retirement. And then lo and behold, just like Romana Senior and John Robbins from West Yorkshire Police, he goes and gets a King's Honours Award, doesn't he, in 2024, does Rowley?
Job for the boys, huh?
Yeah. And it's poor old me just been scapegoated for all this with the help of my brother. So shall I deal with the answers to that now, or are we near the break?
Go ahead, we've got 5 minutes.
Okay. So come the 9th of October, I get my answers back from Mr. Snowden. Allegation 1, Chief Constable Rowley, in a previous role of Detective Chief and Superintendent, Head of Protective Service, Crime protected Stephen Thomas for many years. You have alleged that CC Rowley protected Mr. Thomas at the time when he was head of the protective services of West Yorkshire Police. In support of this allegation, you have provided a considerable amount of documentation. I have read all the documents you have submitted in support of his complaint, but I have been unable to identify any direct links to Mr. Rowley. Bear in mind, I've sent all this, what's been said above, by Billings, the PCC of South Yorkshire Police, and the communications back then with Mark Burns-Williams, and also the communications I had with Sarah Braddon, who was the Police Crime Commissioner in 2021 before this came out. So he's had all the documentations. So he says, in support of the allegations you're provided, I am unable to identify any direct link to Mr. Rowley. Well, he's got stacks of it there. We didn't do anything about.
That's ironic, isn't it? Absolutely ironic.
Yeah, he didn't do it. The one about Lockwood, because it wasn't to do with me, that I think they refused to look into that, which is probably fair enough. So, allegation 3, in 2014, Chief Constable Rowley, then a DCC, blackmailed Cedric Christie to set me up, Ralph, his brother, and threatened Cedric that he would be jailed instead of me for corruption, tipping off and breaking the Official Secrets Act from 2009. You further allege that when Mr. Rowley was
there, what's the Official Secrets Act got to do with anything?
Well, we spoke about this in an earlier episode, that when you become a police officer, you sign up to be to not give away Official Secrets Act against the country or something like that.
Okay, all right then. Okay.
But you can see the problems over here with these police and crime commissioners are meant to be there to take control of chief constables, because they've been out of control for the last 30 years in the UK. It was David Cameron that brought them in. Well, as I said earlier, there's 3 in West Yorkshire that haven't done anything about it. Now, Billings was doing something about it, but suddenly it's been stopped from doing it by the chief constable of West Yorkshire at the time, D. Collins.
So incestuous, isn't it?
Well, the other thing is, I spoke to Dame Andrea Jenkins, who was a Conservative MP in Morley that had some complaint, that knew a bit about my case when she was there. I can't remember the years, and she's now the Lord Mayor of Lincolnshire, so he's head of the PCC again, and because Billings had done something in South Yorkshire, and even though Jane Thomas was from West Yorkshire, I assumed that she would do something from Lincolnshire back end of last year, even though I live in Crete. And we did have conversations, and she did put me in touch with somebody else, but that's gone completely dead now. Now, most of these PCCs are either Labour or they're Conservative. I think she's joined Reform now and what have you. But there's no, there doesn't really seem to be any particular party that's bothered about sorting out corruption in the police force in your country.
My country. My country. All right, on that point then, let's go for a break and play your next song. I haven't a clue what to expect in the third part because I was running the show. So here we go. What are you going to play?
I'm going to play the great singer Annie Lennox and the Eurythmics. Sweet dreams are made of this.
Let's play that now.
Sweet dreams are made of this. Who am I to disagree? I travel the world and the seven seas. Everybody's looking for something. Some of them want to use you. Some of them want to get used by you. Some of them want to abuse you. Some of them want to be abused. Sweet dreams are made of this. Who am I to disagree? I travel the world and the seven seas. Everybody's looking for something. Hold your head up, keep your head up, moving on. Hold your head up, moving on. Keep your head up, moving on. Hold your head up, moving on. Keep your head up, moving on. Hold your head up, moving on. Keep your head up. Some of them want to use you. Some of them want to get used by you. Some of them want to abuse you. Some of them want to be abused. Sweet dreams are made of this. Who am I to disagree? I travel the world and the seven seas. Everybody's looking for something. Sweet dreams are made of this. Who am I to disagree? I travel the world and the seven seas. Everybody's looking for something. Sweet dreams are made of this. Who am I to disagree? I travel the world and the seven seas. Everybody's looking for something. Sweet dreams are made of this. Who am I to disagree? I travel the world and the seven seas. Everybody's looking for something. Sweet dreams are made of this. Who am I to disagree? I travel the world.
Okay, we are back. Now, Mr. Ralph, producer, where are we at now in terms
Well,
of
we've just got this. We've just gone through this about where the Snowden of the CC, whatever Crime Commissioner of Lancashire has said that they can't see anything wrong with Rowley and against the blackmail of Cedric, and so basically he says at the end of his letter, I also note from the documentation provided you have sent emails to your brother Cedric or copied him in and asked him to confirm the allegations of blackmail, but your brother has not responded. And then it's signed off Andrew Snowden. So, well, of course I copied Cedric into all these complaints. This is 2023, isn't it? November. Cedric's confession has come out at that stage. I don't, why does he have to why does Cedric have to respond? Cedric's already admitted he's a criminal, and we already know that he's admitted being blackmailed by Bottomley and Rowley, Romana Senior, back in April 2014, and this was evidenced again by Neil Wilby, because he confided in Neil Wilby at that stage because they were still working together. And of course, Jane Thomas was still thinking Cedric was on side and investigating the rapes against her. It wasn't until later that time, we discussed in a previous programme, that he met Jane Thomas in Valley Gardens in Harrogate. I think that was around August 2015, maybe 14, where they actually fell out. So now the recording that we've got, Brad, this is just something I picked up off on YouTube.
Before we get to that, I just want to just cover one thing I was thinking about whilst listening to your song, is that if we were to apply logic, I mean, my logic is this, right? That I've made a complaint on behalf of the radio station to the police regarding Jane Thomas's case, and in my letter I explained how we come about the knowledge of the case, which is your case, which we're talking about here and now. And my thinking was then well, Jane Thomas's case is pretty straightforward in terms of the egregious way she's been treated, and then that opens a can of worms in relation to your case. Now, then my thinking is that I was thinking, I wonder if I could be someone that could be raided by the police. But all we're doing is sharing police documents or information that is already on the record, right? So there's nothing that can be gained from raiding me or anything like that. But also, it opens for your case of injustice. It exposes them more. I'm not saying all the people that you named there for all these various correspondences are potentially, not nice people or done something wrong. But in all honesty, I actually truly believe that a number of police officers are basically should be questioned under caution, and go from there. And it just stinks to high heaven. It really does.
Yeah.
And if anything, if they did come and raid me, it would prove my point.
Well, the problem is you don't know if it's plant evidence. Then look what they did to Cliff Richards. It's so you don't want to get raided, because that'll be, these people will do anything.
All my stuff's on the cloud anyway, so it doesn't matter. So we've got so many servers, it wouldn't be an issue. And
Cedric's told me that he's walked into people's houses with drugs in his pocket and put them under a bed, and have said that they're the owner.
That's a separate story. I mean, I've not even smoked a cigarette in my life, so I certainly wouldn't be involved in drugs.
And remember, I did speak to DCI Seth Robinson on the phone about 3 weeks ago and sent him some stuff, and he said he'd come back to me, and he said he'd communicate with Cedric. Not heard from him. So the other person that's copied into the email is Maggie Oliver. That's the retired police officer. That, well, I think she quitted because they wouldn't investigate the grooming gangs in Rochdale when she was a detective inspector in that area, and she's dealing with a lot of the rapes that have gone on. She's copied into these emails. I think she was actually working with D.I. Taylor at some point in Greater Manchester. I'm surprised she hasn't picked up about trying to offer some help for Jane Thomas. But anyway.
Yeah. So for the avoidance of doubt, all my computers are backed up into the cloud, and also my mobile phone, I've only got one, is also backed up to the cloud as well. So but it does cross your mind, because you do hear stories where you become a whistleblower, and it feels like I'm a bit of a whistleblower. Where things can go very wrong for you, especially when government officials are involved. The now you want to go to this audio. Should we play that now?
Yeah, we'll play the audio. It's because I think it's the reason that Rowley took early retirement on the 15th of November 2023 was exactly because of Snowden protecting him. In his ridiculous reply he's given that we just read out there.
Okay, let's play it now and we discuss it afterwards.
Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie, and I'm just come on to make this video, short video. Somebody's just let me know, thank you so much. And then there were none. And then there were none. They're going one by one. They're either dying or they're retiring. I mean, what is going on? So here's the news. Have you heard? Chris Rowley announces his retirement. So, after more than 31 years in policing, the Chief Constable of Lancashire Police, Chris Rowley, has announced his intention to retire from policing at the end of March 2024. What the hell? Now, I know he's done his 31 years. I'm sure that's, is this the problem with Lancashire Police, that all the people that were dealing with this case were just on the verge of retirement and either couldn't be asked or they were too far beyond, the new techniques that are used? What is it? I mean, it's just ridiculous. You're just thinking, or has he retired because he's worried in case he dies of a heart attack or whatever poor Peter died of from the stress? So, as well as serving as Lancashire's Chief Constable, he is also the national lead for police wellbeing. He said, "Becoming the Chief Constable of Lancashire was the pinnacle of my career and an absolute honour. Throughout my career, I've had the opportunity to work with outstanding police officers, police staff, partners and communities. The decision to retire has been difficult, but I feel now is the right time to hand the force over to the next person who will no doubt work tirelessly with the Police and Crime Commissioner," that's Mr. Snowman, isn't it, "to continue to reduce crime and make Lancashire a safe place to live, work and visit." This can't all be coincidence, can it? It can't be, it's retirement after retirement and also a death in the middle of it. What is going on? Are they just all too old? Maybe that is a part of it, the fact that this case was dealt with so badly. Nicola Bulley's case, of course, maybe is because they were all just over the hill, not moving with the times. I'm sure there's a lot going on behind the scenes that we don't know about, but it just does seem very coincidental, doesn't it, that they're all going one by one. Lancashire Police and Crime Commissioner Andrew Snowden said, "First and foremost, I would like to thank Chris Rowley for everything he has achieved and delivered as Chief Constable of Lancashire Constabulary. He has driven forward the fighting crime plan I launched in 2021 with determination, vigour and professionalism. Through his focus on fighting crime and protecting people, improving the service the public receive, working across the criminal justice sector to improve prosecution rates and ensuring local community policing is rebuilt and more visible, crime has significantly fallen in our county and Lancashire is a safer place thanks to Chris's leadership, unless you're a woman suffering domestic abuse, isn't it?" Anyway, Mr. Snowden continued, "As Chief Constable, Chris has put into place the building blocks that myself and the public want to see to ensure Lancashire is a force that relentlessly pursues criminals, has an increasingly visible presence in our neighbourhoods, and has high standards of professionalism." Oh, here you go. Here's a job offer if anybody's interested. interested, I will be seeking to appoint a new Chief Constable to take forward this mission, and the advert and job pack for those suitable and interested in the role will shortly be released on Friday the 5th of January. It's not long, is it? We're on Tuesday, so it's only a couple of days away. There you go. He's going. Another one. Another one bites the dust. And it literally will be. And then there were none, because he'll be going. Snowden, he won't get voted in again, I don't think. Who will be left then? Where is Sally Riley? Where is she? Pauline Stables, is she going to end up being the Chief Constable? Oof. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you.
Okay, we are back. Now, Ralph, having listened to that interview, I am a little bit confused who the person was that played that, their backgrounds, and also the context. So can you please explain?
Yeah, well, I just picked it up on YouTube. I don't really know who Vicky Marie is, but she's obviously talking about the resignation again of a Chief Constable of Lancashire. I don't know how many they've had in the last 10 years or so, but I know West Yorkshire Police has had a good few, and so South Yorkshire Police and Humberside. So I just picked up on what she was actually saying about Snowden resigning. And obviously she's saying that he's done a fantastic job. He's reduced crime in the area.
But she was being patronising, though.
Yeah, of course. Well, of course she is. I'm sure she's been patronising, because obviously that Sarah Bully case had been going on. I think that started in February.
Nicola Bully.
Nicola Bully, yeah. I think that started in February, didn't it, 2023? And
Do you remember, Ralph? Sorry to overtalk you. Do you remember the people that volunteered at this specialist company in her case that come up with boats, and this is what they did as a job, and scanned the area and all this sort of stuff. And then basically the West Yorkshire Police called them interlopers. It actually went to court. It went to court in the end. That because they basically the guy. I wish I knew his name. They were saying they were fed up with all these people. You know, what do they call them?
There was some under solar. There was some solar under water thing, wasn't there?
But no, you know, they were saying that basically there's all these public members of the public coming up with ideas, suggestions, and stories, and all this sort of thing is not really helpful. These guys are not helpful. But they got bought in from the family, but then they didn't get bought in from the family, and all this sort of stuff. And then my understanding, last I heard, which was a long time ago, is that it ended up in court. They were suing the police. I don't know what the outcome was or that, but apparently the individual that run the firm was very well respected. This is what his job is. And they brought in a team at their own expense. And yet, you know, when you look at Nicola Bully, she was found in an area that was pretty obvious.
The police even said she might have floated all the way to Morecambe and ended up in the.
I remember that. Yeah.
Anyway, it's a very sad case, isn't it? But I think,
notwithstanding that, her mobile phone and other items were on a bench nearby.
And the dog, what happened to the dog?
Anyway, carry on.
Anyway, I think the reason I'm bringing this up is because we're back to Rowley, aren't we? And as far as I'm concerned, he's the one that's blackmailed Cedric to make him do what he did, even though he shouldn't have done it. And he's protected all these other cowards that we've exposed in the programme. And I honestly believe that when he handed in he was going to retire on the 15th of November, it's just about a week after I've got this reply from Snowden about not doing anything about the blackmail against Cedric and Rowley not prosecuting Stephen Thomas. So both my points to the police commissioner in August were factual, and they haven't done it. So I strongly believe that he took early retirement because of this. But again, the bully thing is another major issue. Now, another interesting point, Brad, is when do you think Sir Norman Bettison resigned from West Yorkshire Police?
I haven't a clue, but I've got no doubt in my mind that you're going to tell me.
It was the 23rd of October 2012. Now, bear in mind, it was Bettison that was investigating Cedric and put him on half pay in April 2009 and suspended him from the Economic Crime Unity and all the rest of it. And Cedric retired in June 2011. Well, the reason Bettison, they said it was over the Hillsborough disaster. That was what was in the news. But the reason he resigned was because he was frightened to death that Cedric would become the police and crime commissioner on the 8th of November 2012. And Cedric's first job, which he said on radio interviews, was to wash West Yorkshire Police of the hierarchy because they're all corrupt. So we've got two chief constables, indirectly. One's resigned in 2012 down to Cedric, and one's resigned in November 2023 down to me. It's completely different to how it's been played in public.
Mm. Well, I was just, while she was on there, I just Googled senior police officers bullying junior staff. It's probably not the right sort of question that I wanted to ask, but anyway, we'll go with this for the moment. The senior officers bullying junior staff is documented issue, frequently manifesting as misogyny, racism, and abuse of power, leading to misconduct, dismissal. These actions include, this is an interesting one, this is relatable, I guess, toxic boy club cultures, harassment and retaliation, which is obviously relevant to your case, and causing victims to leave the force, which you could allude to things like retirement as well. So it probably has some relevance. But from what we can understand and gather from all the information we got, in for the sake of, I don't want to regurgitate, it's cover up.
Yeah.
And fear.
Yeah. And Cedric, in 2011, wanted to bring our disciplinary proceedings against Sir Norman Bettison, John Parkinson, that we've mentioned earlier, Chris Rowley, and Simon Bottomley. And he was told by Tempest Mitchell, who is his police federation, head of the police federation guy, that the top 5 members of any police force in the country cannot face criminal proceedings.
And I've just remembered something, actually. Cedric, in his emails before your trial, he was actually going against police officers, wasn't he? He was actually emailing them himself.
Well, of course, and exposing them.
Yeah.
Look what he said about D.I. Taylor, who's totally incompetent, scraping the bottom of the barrel, totally useless, doesn't understand money investigation.
Just
Well,
Cedric.
Yeah.
And then suddenly he flips.
So that's why Bettison resigned, because he knew that Cedric he said it. He said he's got to get rid of the corruption.
That's probably called witness intimidation, isn't it?
Well, yeah. They're a law to themselves, unfortunately. I mean, look at what they've done to me. It's absolutely horrendous. And like I say, I hope that this is the strongest program that we've had, because the evidence is damning. And if we're talking about, and it's being led by Chris Rowley, we know that. And like I say, I think hopefully I've got Chris Rowley, the bull by the horns, and he's finished. He should go to jail. It's evidence. I mean,
so if he's go to jail, what would you convict him for?
What would you convict? Well, certainly not dealing with the rape of Jane Thomas, blackmailing my brother for 2, and the cover-ups that have gone on. We've mentioned Lockwood, the head of the IOPC. off the top of my head, it's more a matter of what has he done right than what has he done than what he's done wrong.
Okay, I've just pulled up something here. I did another search anyway about Chris Rowley, and it's quite an interesting article by the Independent. I just read the headline: Lancashire Police Chief retires weeks after criticism over Nicola Bulley case, and this is by the Independent, dated the 2nd of January 2024. The head of police force that oversaw the case of missing mother Nicola Bulley has announced his retirement just weeks after investigation was criticised in a review. Chief Constable of Lancashire Police, Chris Rowley, said he would be stepping down the end of March after 31-year career. I bet that's a good pension as well. It comes after the force was slammed for revealing Nicola Bulley's health. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Health struggles. What the hell is that got to do with it, really? In handling of her disappearance. The College of Policing report found that Lancashire Police the disclosure of personal information about the missing mother's struggles and alcohol and menopause was avoidable and necessary. I think basically what they're saying at the time, it's obviously been some time, was that she committed suicide. Is my understanding. But so many people come with different stories, haven't they? Mr. Rowley played a crucial role in the search of the missing mother of two, Miss Bulley, in January and February last year. This at the time of writing the article. The 45-year-old drowned in the River Wye while walking her dog in St. Michael on Ware. Goes on and goes on and goes on. People can Google it and that sort of stuff. But the point being, he was the one that spearheaded that, and I believe, going along with what I've learned about police in operations, is the narrative is set from day one.
Yeah, well, like we said, Betterson was meant to have resigned over the Hillsborough disaster in 2012. And we've already spoken earlier about how Rowley went to South Yorkshire Police as Assistant Chief Constable in 2016, simply to hide all the evidence from Betterson's involvement in the Hillsborough disaster. So the peas in a pod, aren't they?
Yeah. We did a obviously in memorial of the Hillsborough. We just did that, covered it on Dreamcatcher Radio recently. But
so shall I just quickly read out this for Mr. I sent back to Mr. Snowden when I got this reply, Bradders, because we're going to run out of time, aren't we?
We've got 8 minutes left. I just want to say on the point that going back, and I know we'll keep on repeating myself, that people don't believe injustice exists, but look at Hillsborough.
Yeah.
Look at Hillsborough as an example. Anyway, yes, you have my permission, the producer. Carry on.
Okay, so I went back to this to Snowden about this, and I titled it "Now Andrew Snowden is complicit in Operation Langham. How many more PCCs?" And I sent this obviously to him, copied in Jeff Brown, Jane Thomas, Cedric was copied in, Pat Brownette, Peter Morris, Charles the architect, Matthew Clark, and Benedict Clark, prosecution witnesses. And I just said, Mr. Snowden, thank you for your final decision attached regarding continued protection of your Chief Constable Chris Rowley and Stephen Thomas criminality. You have been copied in also to how my own defence lawyers, Tayab Ali, worked with Rowley, Andrew West, Stephen Thomas, Sue Watt, Cedric and Declan before my trial in 2015, scapegoating me. When the evidence against these guys is so cut and dry, how can you put pen to paper and write such twaddle along with now incriminating yourself when you should be issuing many arrest warrants? Your biggest lie in your final decision of the 9th of the 10th, 2023 is below as evidence in the second attachment written by DCI Bottomley, who Cedric admitted he reported back to with Declan in April 2014, along with Rowley, the lies about Crete and me in secret that invented 18 new counts in my trial. Although it is noted that Mr. Rowley was head of the Economic Crime Unit at the time, the department investigating you, it has been confirmed that CC Rowley was not the investigating officer in this case and had no involvement in your matter. So that's from the crime commissioner, and of course he's had all the evidence of him being involved, over the 3 weeks. So just a downright lie, and obviously I've signed that off, and they've never been back to me since that. And as I said, Chief Constable Rowley announced his retirement on the 15th of November 2023, not because of the disastrous Nicholas Bully River death farce, but because of me exposing his lead in Operation Langan, the blackmail of Cedric in late 2013 to nail me, and the protection of the self-confessed rapist and embezzler Stephen Thomas with his brother Simon Thomas since May 2006. And then Chris Rowley was awarded the KPM, which is the King's Police Medal, in June 2024 for a distinguished service by His Majesty the King. So I don't know what you make of...
Saying that, this is a very, very crude example. Look at the medals they go, oh, geez, I can't believe I'm going to say this. I'm questioning my own thinking here. All right, I'm going to do it for the sake of it. It's Jimmy Savile.
Yeah, got medals, yeah.
And the unfettered access he had to do anything he wanted.
Yeah. Well, what about Sir Keir Starmer? He got knighted, didn't he, for his work at the CPS? And I know for a fact that he protected Jimmy Savile in January 2010 on evidence that was given to him by Surrey Police, because West Yorkshire Police kept saying there's no Jimmy Savile.
It makes you want to puke, doesn't it? It really does.
Yeah.
But
it's still the Prime Minister of your country. Utterly ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't think that'd be much longer though. But I reckon I said in January, I reckon Keir Starmer's going end of May.
Shouldn't he have been arrested in Parliament yesterday, telling all those 300 odd people to vote against the Mandelston thing? He's incriminated now. All those MPs are incriminated.
Yeah, I did a video on this whip things. Where the whip needs to be abolished. This system where you have to force people, and if you don't vote in favour of whatever the governor's saying, we're going to remove you as an MP, the relevant party. I don't understand how that's even allowed to continue. And he openly said that he said that he told the whips to do their job.
Yeah.
It is insanity. So the dictator says, Ralph, for example, I'm going to tell you what you need to say and what you need to think. If you don't, I'm going to basically remove you from my organization, right? And then you're going to be independent in this case. That's what would happen.
How he treated Boris Johnson and what have you over at Tea Party at,
Boris Johnson, in all honesty, I mean, he was a joke.
And he's also committed genocide in Gaza as Starmer. And he's what's going on about these free rent boys that he's obviously had
have you been following that story?
It's hard to find anything out about it, isn't it? Because
it is very difficult, right? But I've managed to find an account of somebody that's actually going to court every single day. And he's in I think it's day 3 now. Well, let's wait and see what happens. They got remanded. All of them.
Honestly, it's a complete joke. What we've read out today. You've still got Jane Thomas probably petrified living at home because we're talking about this because of what the police have done to her for speaking the truth.
Let me just go backwards. Sorry, just let me just go backwards. Right. Just go back to that story, right? Keir Starmer, yeah. These are rent boys. All of them are rent boys. It cannot be denied. They've openly said this, yeah. Unless they were in cahoots with each other, yeah. But they got remanded for attempted arson, right? Attempted.
Yeah.
Neither of them achieved what they wanted to achieve, right? Neither of them knew each other, but they all knew Keir Starmer.
Yeah. Well, he probably said, "I'm the Prime Minister. I've let you bum me, but I'm not going to pay you."
But they all got remanded for attempted arson. Who gets remanded for attempted arson?
Yeah.
No prior convictions, all foreigners.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Ukrainians.
Yeah. What a story, huh?
Yeah.
I'm not leading anybody down the path of thought, but this is what's going on.
And then he lied again. He said that his wife's right behind him, didn't he, this week? And his best supporter is his wife.
Allegedly, she's moved out of number 10. But who
What
knows?
happened to Lord Ali? Well, he's gone very quiet, hasn't he?
Yeah, but he's loaded, isn't he? So he's in good stead.
Yeah.
In all honesty, if you think about it logically, right? If someone was to buy you clothing, right, Ralph, wouldn't that make you feel uncomfortable?
Well, of course. But, he's got his arsehole boxed in and all the rest of it. But he's just a criminal.
And buy you like spectacles and stuff like that. You know what? I don't even know you. I mean, I just think, why is someone offering me to buy this stuff? Also, I then secondly think, what do they want from me? And it's obviously something they want from me, but then you learn about the accommodation and all that sort of stuff as well. It's just I mean, Ralph, this is going off topic, but I can talk about this sort of stuff all day long. David Lammy and his expense account is just shocking, absolutely shocking. It cuts me. We are literally at the end of this.
Okay. Just one point. Starmer should be jailed simply for allowing to have the second trial in the UK when he was, head of the prosecution service, because it's just clear double jeopardy. The trial in Greece was down to him, and the trial in the UK was down to him. End of. Would you like a final song?
Yeah, we're gonna need one. Yeah, I'm just trying to think something else that just comes to my mind, but then I thought, actually, Brad, shut up. You said enough. So yeah, let's go with your final song.
Okay, so hopefully I've taken the bull by the horns, the bull being Rowley and me being a poor little nobody from Crete. So the song I've gone for is ABBA, The Winner Takes It All.
Right, okay. Let's play that now.
I don't wanna talk about things we've gone through, though it's hurting me. Now it's history. I played all my cards, and that's what you've done too. Nothing more to say, no more race to play. The winner takes it all, the loser standing small beside the victory. That's her destiny. I was in your arms, thinking I belonged there. I figured it made sense, building me a fence, building me a home, thinking I'd be strong there. But I was a fool, laying by the rules. The gods make wrong with dice, their minds as cold as ice, and someone way down here loses someone dear. The winner takes it all, the loser has to fall. It's simple and it's plain. Why she kiss like I used to kiss you? Does it feel the same when she calls your name? Somewhere deep inside, you must know I miss you. But what can I say? Rules must be obeyed. The judges will decide the likes of me are mine. Spectators of the show always stay in love. The game is on again. A lover or a friend, a big thing or a small, the winner takes it all. I don't wanna talk if it makes you feel sad, and I understand. You've come to shake my hand. I apologize if it makes you feel bad, seeing me so tense, no self-confidence. But you see, the winner takes it all. The winner takes it
It's close to midnight. Something evil's lurking in the dark. Under the moonlight, you see a sight that almost stops your heart. You try to scream, but terror takes the sound before you make it. And you start to freeze, and so it looks you right between the eyes. You're paralyzed, 'cause this is daylight, daylight night, and no one's gonna save you from the beast about to strike. You know it's daylight, daylight night. You're fighting for your life inside a killer thriller tonight. You hear the door slam and realize there's nowhere left to run. You feel the cold hand and wonder if you ever see the sun. You close your eyes and hope that this is just imagination. Girl, but all the while you hear a creature creeping up